everyone once again. My name is Wasim. I come from a faith background. I'm a Muslim person. So I would like to speak on three aspects of the discussion today. One, from a faith perspective, from a religious perspective. The second is from a social perspective. And the third is from a political perspective. So I hope you are ready for a long talk. I know I've come quite at the end, so we'll quickly finish off. As soon as we could finish off our speeches, I hope we can also finish off this woke ideology that is trying to push through the communities here in Australia. The first point, from a faith perspective, from a religious perspective, I do comparative religion studies, so I study Jewish scriptures, Christian scriptures, Muslim scripture. And I can assure you, every single time the faith scriptures speak, every single time God speaks in the religious scriptures, God refers to only two genders, male and female. From a religious perspective, it is very clear. From a religious perspective, it is absolutely crystal clear. God wants male and female gender to be recognized, to have a relationship, and to prosper further. This letter ideology, the ideology of different letters, that is keep on growing from L, G, and all the way down to the Z, to Z. All these letters are not to be found from a religious perspective. Unfortunately, these groups, they are even enforcing, trying to replace the religious ideology. They are trying to conquer, they are trying to overtake even the faith groups. They are trying to impact the temples, the churches, and the mosques. But I tell you, it is very clear. The religious groups from all backgrounds, whether Muslim or Christian or Jew, they all believe that having that sort of ideology is sinful in the religion. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you try to change it. The religious ideology would remain stand still and would counter and would challenge anyone who is trying to overtake the religious framework. Coming to the second point, the social perspective. They are talking about what we are fighting today. My dear friends, what we are fighting today is not for myself and yourself. We are fighting for the next generation of Australians. We are fighting for our children. We are not talking about me or you anymore. We have lived our lives, but we cannot see, but we cannot witness our children being used as punching bags by this ideology. In this country, Australia, a child under 18 is not allowed to buy smokes, is not allowed to buy alcohol, is not allowed to drive car, and you want them to change their gender? How absurd is that? How incoherent is that? How shameful is that? And if you allow me to call it, I see it as pedophilic attacks on our children. You can't let sexuality enter the schools. You can't let sexuality enter the homes. You can't let change of gender entering into the innocent minds of the children, going to the kinders, going to the schools. We will not let this happen. And I'm sorry to say this. I don't want to hurt anybody. But I have to say this. Those who cannot produce children are not going to dictate our children. We will not let that happen. You must have heard of a stolen generation. You have heard of the abuse, a humiliation, of the oppression that happened to the Aboriginal children a century ago. And I say out of lot of respect for our Aboriginal elders, I say, unfortunately, with the current laws and the practices that are being influenced in our state Victoria, the Suppression Act, the Suppression Practices Prohibition Act that was passed in 2021, it is no less than creating another opportunity for a stolen generation in our times. We will not let you steal our children as as long as we are alive. I have to say, we must thank the organizers, we must thank the marshals, the volunteers who are working hard in order to stand against the tide of the time. These are the people who have got government support, the politicians' support, the authorities' support, yet to stand against the tide of the time. Hats off to every single one of you who is here and to every single one of the organizers. Hats off and a great thanks to all of you. I would come to the conclusion, to the last part. The political aspect of this situation. The politicians understand only one language, the language of votes. They only understand the language of votes. So I warn all the political parties and I warn all the politicians out there, if you don't fulfill this particular requirement, the demand of the families, of the parents, of the individual Australians, then I tell you, our votes will speak on our behalf in the next ballot. We will not spare you. We will not let you come back to power again. Because what you have done is you have ruined the homes, the schools, and the families out there. Our vote will speak to you in the next ballot. I tell you, I come from the Muslim faith. We got 1 million voters in Australia. Over 1 million voters in Australia. The topmost organizations of the Muslim community, the Islamic Council, the mosques, the churches, the temples, they are all talking about this in their mosques, in their gatherings. We are going to make this matter as our #1 priority for our voting. We are not a small bunch of people. We have big numbers. We have faith groups with us. We have people who have sanity. They are all on our side. We even have LGBTQ members who are transgenders. Even they are on our side. Because what you are doing is you are entering the children's sphere. This will not be allowed. I conclude by saying, as an individual, as a father, as a parent, and as an Australian, I will not stop